this episode of the Anything Goes Hokkaido video podcast, we welcome special guest Shohsei Oda, drummer for the indies rock pop band the SUNBATHERS, based out of Washington, D.C., USA. Shohsei, who was born in Hokkaido and raised in Sapporo, is going to share with us about his band's music and also his take on growing up as a Hafu in both countries. We'll dive into his experiences attending the Hokkaido International School and the University of Richmond, Virginia, all while introducing you to the awesomeness that is the SUNBATHERS' unique indie vibe. Their music videos have over 1.5 million views on YouTube and more than 2 million streams. And now, on to our special edition long-form podcast.
Hello guys, welcome to Anything Goes Hokkaido. I'm Shinya.
I'm Delaina.
Yes, and today we have another special interview with another musician, yes. Similar to me, Hafu, yes.
Hafu, yeah.
Hafu, yes. And we're going to talk to him about his music first of all. I'm pretty excited because I like sort of the indie pop rock style and his experiences about being a Hafu, if it's similar to mine, a little bit different, things like that. So,
yeah, for sure.
You'd like to say, Delaina?
Well, our guest today is from a band in the States called the SUNBATHERS, and they've got, even as of a year ago, well over 2 million streams on Spotify. They have played at Firefly Festival in the US, and they're a pretty awesome indies band. And our guest is Shohsei Oda, who we are going to call up now. He is a native Hokkaido dosanko, just like you and me too, kind of. Okay.
Pretty much now.
Pretty much now. I've been here longer than you, maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's bring Shohsei into the call now. By the way, how are you, Shinya? I haven't seen you in a while.
Other than working, spending time with the share mates, trying to fucking... I keep swearing.
Well, we'll just mark this one explicit. It's okay.
Trying to get the mic thing, but after I bought the amp and all the equipment, it wasn't working. So I have no idea what's going on.
I think maybe I can help you out with that later, but once I can actually go there and check it out for you.
So and then last week,
we'll chat.
And then last week, I broke my chair.
Oh no!
Because I raged a little bit when I was playing computer games and pushed the handle, and a few bolts came out, and some of them were bent and stuff like that. But it was like a really, really old chair I got for free. So.
Oh well. So did you get a new chair?
I bought a new chair, which is coming on Friday.
Okay. Well, good. Things are good here. I wrote a new song about
I saw that
the coronavirus experience, and I've had like 3 producers write to me personally say that's the best thing you've written so far that we know about.
They always say that?
No, they don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
David Sweetlow was one of them.
Oh yeah.
And some friends in Tokyo and another local guy. So anyway, I'm push that to the front of the queue, and working on getting that out as soon as possible.
That's
so
good.
It's time for us to add in Mr. Shohsei Oda. Okay. Hello, Shohsei.
Hello.
Nice to
going?
meet you. Yes.
Good.
Very good.
Nice to meet you too. I am I'm now trying to figure out, I don't know, I haven't used Skype in a minute, and I'm trying to figure out this 3-way interface real quick. There we go. I think I'm set up.
Okay, I think we are. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So, where are you right now?
I am in the world. I am currently in Washington, D.C.
Right.
It's where I live. It's where I've lived for the past 6.5 years since graduating from college. So I went to school in Virginia, just a couple hours south of here, and moved here for a job right after I graduated, and I've been here ever since. So, and more specifically, I'm currently in the living room of my house. The house that I've ever made.
Very cool.
Is the lighting okay? I wasn't sure if I can kind of
It's a little dark.
It's a little dark.
Yeah, I mean, we can see you, right? Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think.
Doing better.
Yeah, the lighting. That's better. Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
Maybe.
Cool.
But yeah.
It is just. Oh, sorry. No, is this like the show already? Are we on or?
We are on, and it will be edited.
We're
so
on?
there's
Awesome.
no worries. You can say what you want. Shinya's already dropped an F-bomb.
Already swore, so.
That automatically makes this an explicit
Right.
episode.
Got it.
Which is fine.
Got it. It's the parental warning label on it.
Something like that, yeah.
Got it.
So you are from Hokkaido and grew up here, right?
I am from Hokkaido. Yep. I was born and raised in Sapporo. Lived there my whole life, all the way through high school. So
Wow.
yeah. So I love the concept of the show. I love that there's the title is Anything Goes Hokkaido, and I love that there's a show focused on that on YouTube.
too.
I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun with this. I was editing up until the last minute our 4th episode with another local musician from England, David Sweetlow. And we have a 5th episode being edited by another participant, all about eating sakura flavored chocolate and alcohol and stuff. We've had Carlos Mirabal from The Fighters on the show already.
Yes, I saw. I don't think I saw the episode. I don't know if it's out yet.
It just
but I
came
saw
out
that was going to happen.
yesterday.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So this is exciting to have you on.
Well,
What was
thanks
it like?
for having me on.
Yeah. What was it like growing up in Sapporo? And can you tell us a little bit about your school? Because that's really special, I think.
Yeah. What was it like growing up in Sapporo? Well, first and foremost, I love Sapporo. I love my hometown. Definitely have big hometown pride. For Sapporo and also just for Hokkaido in general. It's a beautiful prefecture. I think I'm always very proud to tell people that I'm from Sapporo and from Hokkaido, and always brag about, just the endless beautiful nature that you can catch in the prefecture. And I also think Sapporo as a city, I've always been a big fan of big cities, and I think largely, having grown up in I think Sapporo is the 5th largest city in Japan, or so.
Yeah, around about that.
I think it might be, yeah.
Somewhere around there, maybe. And so I think I've always had an affinity for big cities, but I've also realized more recently in my adult life, having gone back, that I do like that it's not this like massive mega metropolis, and it's more management. And I think particularly the last time I was home, which was actually just a couple months ago, this past winter, as an adult, I think I've been able to have some distance from it, in the sense that going home, like in college and stuff, it was just my mindset was, I'm just home, and I didn't think twice about it. But now, having grown up a little bit more, and maybe also being away from it a little bit more, I go back and I see it with a different set of eyes. I kind of see it a little more objectively, and even objectively, I just think it's this great city. And it's not just because it's my hometown, but it's just like a really great city to live in. And it was definitely a great city to be raised in as well. In terms of my school, I went to Hokkaido International School, the one international school on the entire island.
Yes.
Although since I've graduated, set up a second campus in Niseko.
Yeah, they have.
And yeah, and I I could say all those same positive things about Sapporo and Hokkaido, about HIS. I have a lot of pride being a Husky and having gone to that school, and I feel very grateful and just a lot of gratitude that was my educational experience, but also just my community growing up. It is a very tight-knit community, and even outside of the students and the families in the school, I think it's a hub for a lot of international people in Hokkaido in general, and so it's kind of
sure.
like magnet to draw people from all different cultures, and I think that was always awesome. So and it was a great education, and it's special. I went there from preschool all the way through my senior year of high school. So in my graduating class, I mean, I had a handful of friends who I was seniors with, who I had known since I was like 4 years old. So that's also an awesome experience. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I can't say enough good things, I guess. I don't know how much we want to dive into it, but yeah, I'll say that for now.
All right, no, that's awesome. So we want to kind of introduce your band's music throughout this show. What would be your first pick of a song to introduce new fans to?
I think whenever people ask for like a sample of our music, I think most of the time the one song that I give them is a song called Intimacy.
All
I actually love that song too. And you guys made a really awesome music video for that. The concept is really cool.
Well, we can't take all the credit for the music video. We work with this great director and this great team who we've actually collaborated with for a couple of our music videos. And there was definitely some storyboarding that went into it, but they definitely get most of the credit for the music video. They did a fantastic job with it. And I agree, it's phenomenal.
Move on.
I can't have met someone over Skype before, I don't think. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Not
maybe
even for interviews or.
I don't know if I've ever done a Skype interview, actually, now that I think of it.
Wow.
I've definitely met people over Skype in the sense of like, you know, people's parents or like people's family members or other friends or things like that. But yeah, it's always a fresh experience, I guess. So
Okay.
For sure. All right, that actually was pretty cool content. Let's just keep it. Sorry, I want to cuss, but I can't bring myself to do it.
Why? I already did.
You did, but I have a different image to uphold in this community, and my mother watches the show. So.
Alright. Oh, so did your mother say anything about me?
Well, I haven't uploaded any explicit versions.
Ah,
yet,
really? Okay.
but I already warned her.
Okay.
So
okay.
no worries, no worries.
I think that's an
Alright.
Australian thing. That is an Australian thing.
Oh, I got lots of American friends that have no filter on their language.
where in Australia are you from?
Well, firstly, I was born in Kitami.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then my family moved to Sydney when I was 4.5 years old. And did elementary school there, and then I moved to Cairns at the end of elementary school until the end of high school. Yes.
Gotcha.
So
Very cool.
I would say my hometown in Australia is probably Cairns. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I most remember about Australia, in a way.
Right.
Yes.
Your more formative years were spent there. I imagine.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Definitely.
Cool.
Shohsei, you spent some time in Australia, didn't you?
I did. I actually studied abroad in Melbourne the fall of my junior year and absolutely fell in love with that city. And also got to go to Sydney as well and really liked Sydney. So I need to go back to Australia. It's super far, obviously. So
Yeah.
and now obviously we we're all restricted with travel as it is. But once the world opens back up, I'm looking forward to someday making it back there, and hopefully
I'm
getting
looking forward to going.
a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my
Yeah.
bucket list.
Well, yes, even living in Sydney for a while, I do prefer Melbourne in a way. Sydney is a bit too big for me, especially the city, and Melbourne has a lot more culture, as people say.
Yes. Right.
Yes. So
That was exactly my read on it.
yeah.
And I don't want to say anything, but I definitely had a strong preference for Melbourne myself. I had a great time in Sydney. We were there for maybe about 9 days, I think, when we went. But I just loved Melbourne so much that it's, to this day, it's like one of my favorite cities that I've traveled to in the world. And as you said, there's so much culture. It's like, I feel like it's the sports capital of like the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
And there's like the arts and music, and the cityscape is just so cool too, where you have like
Right.
this super modern city that's like so naturally intertwined with like architecture that feels more like it's out of like a 16th century Europe.
Right.
And then a lot of greenery, all these like parks, and then there's the beach, and yeah, I just absolutely loved it, and I would have been dying to go back ever since. So.
Yeah, I do see that. Yes. I think a lot of
Yeah.
people see that the same way. Yes. So
Yeah.
Actually, that was one of the questions we had lined up for you, since the connection with
Oh,
Shinya
gotcha.
as well. And
Oh,
how did you
yeah.
end up in the States from here?
So growing up, so my mother's American, so I'm half Japanese, half American. My dad's Japanese and my mom's American. My mother would take my sister and me to visit her side of the family in the States, in Florida, every couple summers when we could. She was born and raised in Michigan and then moved to Florida when she was a teenager. Either a teenager or right before she was a teenager. So in the Tampa area. And so it's not like I hadn't, ever been in the States before, but definitely, living full time. My freshman year of college was the first time I was doing that. But still, we would have long summers, like from June all the way through August, where growing up, I'd spend, my entire summer in the States. So it wasn't like I had this crazy culture shock when I fully moved to the States. But there were still some things definitely that required some adjustment. But what took me there, I guess to answer your question, was college. So I went to the University of Richmond.
On a full ride scholarship, I believe.
Not a full tuition scholarship.
Okay, well, still. Props to Hokkaido International School.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And Richmond's a really cool city. Very hip town. I think it's like I don't know if it still holds this title, but it was like the most heavily tatted city in the States, at least at some point. I also had like ridiculously high crime rates at some point too, so some good and some bad. But really cool city. And in the last couple of years, it's had this like boom and just really cool restaurants and bars that have opened up, and some microbreweries and stuff as well. It's got a lot happening. Got another city like Melbourne, much smaller, but in terms of having culture and having a lot of character, I would say. I went to this tiny liberal arts school, the University of Richmond, which is kind of secluded from the city itself. But had a great, super positive experience there. And after 4 years there, landed in DC, and here I am. And
awesome.
Life faster and faster. It's crazy.
I know. It really, gosh, I mean, I have known you since you were 12?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Really, that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so. And I remember when you like started playing the drums.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
like.
I was 12. So.
How old were you when I got you to record drums for that track that I did for the Okusama wa Gaikokujin TV show?
What?
I was probably between like 14 and 16.
Yeah, I think you were like that high school age, so.
Maybe 17. I don't know.
Yeah, right around there. You were still really young, but that was a lot of fun. I came with my computer to your place, and you used your electric drum kit and laid down that track for me, and then we lip synced it live on national TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've been on a number
Wow.
of TV shows here. My first start was like those reality TV shows. I will never do another one again if I can help it. But yeah, so they billed me as a singer-songwriter, which I am. So they allowed us to play music on the show, and so laid down that track for me. It's really cool.
Oh no, I was just saying that may have been my first proper recording experience.
Yay! Glad I could help. I'm sure it has gone up a huge amount of quality since then.
It's I've definitely had more experience just in terms of number of hours spent recording, but the quality of the experience, that's all subjective, I would say.
True.
Yeah.
So what track has been the most fun to record or make?
Oh man, that's a really tough question. they can all be so much fun in different ways. I think, probably the most fun part of the process is just writing the song. When you're having those moments, inspiration in a group, as a group, where you're just like jamming on an idea and something clicks, and you all just look at each other, and you, even without saying a word, you just know that that's going to work and that that's going to become a part of the song. I think that's like one of the most exciting things about songwriting and just being in a band in general. So like every song has those moments, and I'd say, I think in a lot of ways some of our it's tough to say our best songs, but maybe some of my favorite songs are the songs that felt really natural when we were writing them, where they didn't feel like they needed a lot of work. They just kind of just naturally flowed, and it's more like carving out something that already exists than like trying to construct something and put something together. And fortunately, we've had that experience with, a handful of our songs, if not most. And so it's tough to single out one. You said the most fun to record. I don't know if it's the most fun, but like definitely a very, very fun experience was recording when we were first writing and like kind of demoing the song that we actually just put out, called Heart of the Night.
Freshman class, obsessed with the past. Lazy thoughts, endless hunger. We went drinking like all the others, facing off against the stubborn heart of the night. I want for you to take control when we fit in such a mode, 'cause I don't really care for myself anymore. Come to chord 3, nothing happens in between, 'cause I don't really care for myself anymore.
That was one of those songs that just kind of, it felt like it just naturally came together. And for myself, I remember like figuring out, the drum part, and I was heavily not heavily borrowing, but at that point I was trying to go for channeling a certain band, the band Phoenix. And I remember like playing a drum beat that was like, oh, this sounds like this could be a beat in a Phoenix song, and it just worked with the song. And then the little breaks, and as a drummer, like coming up with even just little, you always have to, for myself, it's a challenge, because at the end of the day, you have to serve the song, and you don't want to overplay it or anything, and that can be tough for me sometimes. But with that song, I felt like I was, doing well on that front, and then the moments where I could like put a drum fill in or whatever, they just like clicked very naturally, and they're not necessarily like the most technically complex fills or anything like that, but I feel like they're, if I do say so myself, like pretty tasteful and just work really well in the context of the song. So I have fond memories of those moments of just like, oh yes, this like works. You come up with that little part, and you're just like, this works really well. And then recording it obviously is fun too. And then can also get tedious when you have to take multiple takes and get it right. And, but I could say the same thing about so many of our songs in terms of the recording process. Intimacy also was a really fun song to record. That was one that I think from our initial like first version / draft of the song to the final version, certain things changed around more significantly than in other songs. And so seeing the evolution of the song through the process of like writing and recording it. And I think that was the first time, because it was one of the first songs that we recorded, like at least the first version of it. It was the first time where we saw a song change during the recording process. And so in some ways that was maybe, I don't even remember, but I wouldn't be surprised if back then there were moments of like feeling uncomfortable, like, oh, because we were in this new territory of like, oh, this song's changing and we're already in the middle of recording it. What's that going to be like? Versus, wanting to have the song 100% written and finished. At that time we were working with this producer, and I think that may have been our first time where we like went through this process of like, you do pre-production, which is where you like record the demo, like the version of the song as it is, so that you can give your producer like a reference of, here's the song, now we want to work with you to record it. And then he would have some thoughts and he'd provide some input. I'm like, all right, what if we do this in this one part? Or what if we, change this little thing? So having an outside voice come in, I think was a new experience for us at that point. And fortunately, like the producer we were working with, he's a close friend, and it was a super positive experience. So, and the feedback he had was just like great. So we incorporated a lot of it. And so I think it was, this two-sided thing where maybe initially it was, you're kind of asking yourself, oh, what's happening? This is new. But at the same time you realize, oh, this is kind of exciting as well. And having someone kind of be like, all right, that's cool, but what if we try this, and challenge you in different ways, and push you like creatively. I think that's a cool thing too. So that was also a really cool experience. But
Awesome.
Again, I could say that about.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And feel free to cut at any.
No, it's really interesting. And Shinya, are you hanging out okay? Because I'm a musician as well, so this is all like totally.
Yeah, this is all new to me. This is all new to me. So.
Are you interested though?
Yeah. I can understand like the process, but of course this is all new to me. I'm not a musician in any way. I just love listening to music. That's it.
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure that our average listener is also going to enjoy us going down the rabbit hole of music recording. And Shinya, you want to take over for a little bit here?
Yes.
Yes, no?
It might get a little bit deep, but you can decide if you want to answer the questions or not. But of course, the first thing about being a half is that there's a bit of, discrimination. There's a bit of being an outcast in a way. My parents decided to move to Australia because of firstly the Japanese education system. They didn't like as well as they wanted, and being a half in, for example, Sapporo in 15 to 20 years ago, of course there's not many foreigners at all, so growing up in a normal Japanese school, I would say, is being a bit of an outcast in a way. So how did you feel going to the international school? Maybe, of course, going to the international school was better for you in a way. Maybe there was some other students in the same situation as you, but in Australia, most people are just multicultural. They're from different areas, so it didn't matter. But in a way, in Japan, 95% of the students are just Japanese. So how did you feel during that time? Mainly from maybe junior high school to high school time is sort of when you're sort of starting to realize, I guess. Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I will say, first, before I dive into this, that was actually also one of the things that stood out to me and that I really liked about when I was in Australia, is I felt like the makeup of the people, it was just so diverse, and I would see, people from different cultures this is coming from someone who grew up going to, like I've said, an international school and thinking that I've been exposed to all these different cultures, and I had, but I hadn't seen it all. And then being in Australia, and I was seeing, and interacting with people who were just like, oh, like this is like a completely new cultural like perspective to be interacting with, and it was awesome. And just to have that diversity, I think, was really cool as well. But yeah, I mean, to your point, obviously Japan is a super homogenous country, and even more so back in the day when we were growing up. I think, I don't know what the right word is, whether it's lucky or what, but I felt more, I guess, protected in some sense from any kind of discrimination growing up. And I think primarily because I did attend the international school, and that was my main community. So I wasn't really in environments where I felt like such an outsider. And so I think, I guess it is maybe lucky is the right word, because that's obviously can be such a terrible experience for anyone at any time in their life. But also I feel like particularly as a child and as a kid growing up. So fortunately I didn't have to deal with that so much. But it was also interesting because I have an older sister. She's 5 years older than me, and she, unlike myself, who had, from preschool had attended the international school, she had actually attended a Japanese elementary school.
Oh wow!
And a Japanese Yochien up until 5th grade, and then 5th grade I think is when she transferred into the international school, and then she ended up graduating from the international school. And, that in and of itself was this huge transition, obviously. But I do know, I remember, for her as a child, she was way more aware of and just like on, just kind of more, not defensive, but more, primed to notice any kind of potential discrimination in a way that I had not been, and that's purely the result of her being more fully in an environment where she was an outsider. And in our family we have this story about how, I forget how old she was, maybe it was like she 1st or 2nd grade. She came home crying one day from school, and she said she was crying, and she went to our mom, and she was like, "Mom, the kids at school were saying for some reason that you're a gaijin, and I don't know why, because you're Japanese." And it's just like really fun. I mean, it's mostly just this funny story in the sense that like my mom cracked up, and she was like, "Well, Emmy, they're actually totally right. I am foreign in Japan. I'm not Japanese." And it just like blew my sister's mind that her mom, who, mind you, she's like, my mom's like a 6 foot tall white woman, like not like a sore thumb in Japan. And somehow, and I think it's also really cool, like, that it speaks to in a child's eyes, like in my sister's eyes, she like didn't really register that at all. And she it just like blew my sister's mind. She's like, "What? You're not Japanese?" But I think from I don't think necessarily from that moment. I'm sure she had some exposure to it before that, but that's just one of those stories about how she became more aware of her own difference, and she realized, oh, I'm also different because I'm half American, half Japanese. I'm not Japanese. She grappled with that, I think, a lot more than I did growing up. And I feel for her in that sense because I didn't really have that same experience, and I wish I could be more empathetic. Like I can be empathetic in in the sense that I can understand being feeling like the outsider is never a comfortable experience. It can be a hurtful experience that people treat you in a hurtful way. But it wasn't, the empathy wasn't really rooted in my own experience, which is interesting. But
so how did you feel going to America then? So, well, in the opposite, so you're going as, of course, Shohsei ODA, which is a full Japanese name, and then you go into college in America. So it's sort of like for us halves, we don't have an actual 100% home in a way. I mean, we of course count it as our home, but in a way we don't belong here for example, in Australia for me, and then I don't belong in Japan because I'm Gaijin, but I'm not Australian, I'm Asian in Australia. So this is something, well, all halves I think have this feeling. So how did you feel the other way around? So when going to America for college?
That's a great question. I think and I think it's something I'm still kind of unpacking a little bit, or like retroactively like analyzing. And I think where I am now, and I think where I've been most of my life, is being, instead of feeling like I didn't belong in either, I felt like I belonged in both. But also it's this weird contradiction where you can feel that way and still feel like you don't belong in either at the same time. And you can feel like I'm Japanese, I'm American, I'm neither, I'm both. I'm its own unique thing, which is a mixed half Japanese, half American person, and that's its own identity. And it's obviously a very complex thing. But in terms of my experience in college, I think probably my freshman year, I think I underestimated probably how much it would affect me. And what I mean by that is that because I had spent so much time in the States growing up, I was like, I'm so familiar with the US. I didn't think twice about fully living there as being this dramatic shift. And it certainly probably wasn't as dramatic as a shift as obviously as, for people who had never set foot in the US before. But it still was an adjustment. And I think I did feel like in some ways I stood out. The school that I went to was, a lot of the kids were from very specific regions in the country. And it's a lot better about kind of the diversity of the geographic recruitment for the school, to their credit. Even back then, it's not like it was this like terrible thing, but there was like a lot of kids from New England. It was like almost a joke, like on school, like this self-acknowledged, self-aware joke, like, like every third person at the school is from New Jersey, and, everyone else is from New England or from Long Island or from right outside of Philadelphia or whatever. And obviously not being from any of those places, I was like, okay, well, I guess you can feel like the outsider. And probably my freshman year, I probably did feel that way more so than I had at any other point in my life. But fortunately, I also met so many. One of my favorite things about my college experience was meeting and making so many great friends. Some of my best friends, like, who hopefully I'll have for the rest of my life. And a lot of those I made my freshman year. And I think also some of them, we became really close because we had that shared experience of feeling like, this isn't, I'm not from New England or Philly or that as well. One of my best friends I made, who actually, funnily enough, we had met even before freshman year. We had gone for interviews the spring of our senior year in high school, and we met during interviews then. And he actually is from Long Island, but I think he had this kind of, he also had a very an internationally conscientious mindset,
Right.
whereas I think a lot of other students maybe hadn't. And I think we maybe like that was this connection that we had, and I think we bonded over that. And a lot of my, a lot of close friends were people who had more of an international experience. But it was also really interesting because I then started making also really close friends with those people who were the people that, not even intentionally, I would have just felt like an outsider with just the result of being like, all right, here's a majority group, here's a minority group. And it was interesting to like become really close friends with those people and like break down any kind of preconceived notion you might have.
Yeah.
Both ways. And so that was also a really cool experience as well. And
awesome.
Getting past the discomfort to get to that point is can be really rewarding. So sorry, am I like super verbose? I'm realizing that it's like
No, love it.
like, man, we're already like at we're already at the 40-minute mark or so.
I decided about 10 minutes ago we need to make this a special hour-long episode. So we have time to introduce here some more music and talk about a few more things we wanted to get to. Shinya, what was the one's like top pick you wanted to, or what you've been enjoying listening to?
I watched the video of Honeysuck.
Oh yeah.
That one was interesting, I would say.
Yeah.
I get the idea. Really good song.
Yeah, really great concept there. So
video was interesting.
Yeah, everybody, you have to go check out these videos. This music is amazing, but the videos are fantastic. So we're gonna take a quick listen to a bit of Honeysuck and then check it out, and we'll be back.
Lie down on the floor, heart sinking low. Let the pressure lift them can grow. Pressure lift them can grow. Hands up, swollen eyes. Yeah, you're mesmerizing. Whatever fucks your pride, you've got your hands on it tonight. and lose yourself inside the I'm not moving around. All I see is you with me. Ooh, you're so appealing, floating toss the ceiling. Everyone he wants your love. And I get this feeling it might be the reason that I'm crazy for your touch. I want you all the time, all the time. I want you all the time to myself. You're so appealing, floating toss the ceiling. Ooh, give me all your love.
Cool.
And we're back.
Yes. Oh, well, Shohsei, what do you think about? Have you listened to any Australian sort of indie pop rock style of music?
I mean, I love Tame Impala.
Oh yeah, of course.
As does everyone in the world now, so I guess that's
Yeah.
not like anything special.
Except for
But,
Delaina.
Oh, you don't
Before
like
we got on, I don't even know who they are yet.
Okay.
You might know like one of their famous songs, like "The Less I Know, the Better." It's one of the biggest songs.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like to claim some hipster credit and say I was into them from ages and ages ago. But no, I do still love them, or him. I mean, it's mostly Kevin Parker is the mastermind behind it. I saw them live, let's say 4 years ago now. It was like just about exactly 4 years ago. It was like May 2016, I believe.
Okay.
It was an insane light show. Rio, awesome show. It was at this outdoor pavilion. It started raining like midway through Tim Impala's set.
Mhm.
And like everyone was sitting out. We were like sitting out on the back lawn. And we just like stood up and just started dancing in the rain. And just this like crazy light show coming from the stage, which was awesome. So I'll always remember that show. But yes, I do love Tame Impala. They're not really like indie in that sense, but actually also one of the more recent shows I'd gone to was Rufus du Sol. You know, they're way more electronic. Love them too. Really like Temper Trap's first album.
Yeah.
Let's see. Nick Murphy, formerly known as Chet Faker.
Yes.
I will dabble with Flume.
Flume, yes. More
I love
DJ.
stuff. I just haven't, and I haven't like, you know, and I feel like I'm just naming off all like the main Australian like names right now.
But I mean, you've heard of Triple J, right?
Yes, yeah, the radio station.
Yes.
Yeah.
So after first hearing your music, it's just like, this sounds like Triple J.
That's great. That's probably exactly, you know, the format we're going for.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get some sort of song out into Triple J, that's a really big jump into like the Australian market in a way.
That's a great point. I should look into that.
And then they always have a hottest 100 at the end of the year that people vote for. A lot of these bands now, I have like Gang of Youths and Jungle Giants and things like that. They were very small bands, but recently after they got high on the hottest 100, they became so popular. So yes, that's.
I was gonna say, if you have any, you know, bands that you would recommend me to check out from Australia, please let me know, because I would love to.
Oh yeah, plenty. after the show. Yeah.
Maybe we can make a list in our YouTube comments for people to check out.
Yeah.
Awesome bands. And I wanted to ask, do you have any like favorite Japanese bands?
Yeah,
or bands in Japan. They don't have to be Japanese specifically, but
I think so. One of my favorite Japanese bands is probably Asian Kung Fu Generation.
Oh yeah.
Just like the songwriting and the drummer is sick. Like he's nasty. And they've just been so consistently good and have just aged so well. So I think that's it can be such a tough thing to do as a band, but they've managed to do it. So I think they'll be one of those bands that like will be remembered for a long time as like one of those classic and class acts from our generation. When I was like middle school, there was like a bunch of Japanese bands that I think had been influenced by like the pop punk of like the late 90s and the aughts, which was interesting to see. And it's like Japanese bands who were singing in half in English, and it sounded like some band out of like LA. And it was really cool to see that too. So some of those bands, I think, like Elle Garden and Bump of Chicken, bands like that I used to listen to. I had a phase with One Ok Rock,
yes,
who have actually I think broken into like the global market now. They're like, I feel like even in the States they're like big. Which is like such a tough thing to do. So that's impressive in and of itself. But I think Asian Kung Fu Generation is they're like probably like one of the bands that I always go back to, and it just like never gets old.
Classic. That's awesome. We definitely need to make like our top lists of bands to include in this episode notes and such. We are going to run out of time eventually, but go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm so worried that like after this ends, I'm gonna think of like so many other bands. I'm like, oh, I should have mentioned them, like in the context of Japanese music or Australian music. But
for sure.
Just one final question, last question, quick question. Any advice for musicians out there in Japan, in America that want to go to a different country to start a band, or halves out there? Any advice? Any quick advice?
Advice. Do it. Follow the dream, and don't expect things to be easy. But also appreciate that things not being easy can be part of like the rewarding experience. And do it for the right reasons. Do it because you love doing it, and if that's the case, then in some ways nothing else matters.
Yeah, nothing should stop you.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
So, yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, we love it.
Too much throughout the entire episode. This time, I'll leave it brief.
All right.
Okay, I wanted to say, of the songs and the videos I've seen you guys do, I have two that I really like. You already went over the ones I really love, except Your Body. I absolutely love the video from that. The dancers you guys got are just phenomenal. and
Yeah.
the song, it gets stuck in your head. I also really like this remix on Summer in the City. How do you pronounce the guy's name? Yates?
Yikes. So funny story, and I'll be very quick about it. That's actually one of my buddies from college, and he had reached out after we had put out, again, it was like a remix of a demo, like not a remix of a final version of the song. And we were like, that's awesome, like please remix it. It sounds like a lot of fun. And he did, and he just like did a great job with it. And that remix then got really popular.
Yeah, it's
Like,
got
our
4,000
friend-
views.
Yeah, and I think on Spotify, it's actually one of our it might be our second most played song. It has like, I don't know, 400,000 streams or something. But he just did a great job with it, and it's just such a fun remix. It keeps the core of like the spirit of the song, but also just changes the skeleton of it completely, which is like what any good remix does, I feel. So anyway, that was a cool thing, and it was special that it was like a friend who did it. So.
Oh, that is awesome. I love that. So Shohsei, how can people go and find out about the Sunbathers? Like direct us to your social media, etc.
Yeah, so most of our social media handles are whatever platform / Sunbathers Band. So like facebook.com/Sunbathers Band, like Instagram, it's the handle Sunbathers Band, Twitter as well, I think. Probably Facebook and Instagram are the best ways to stay in touch. That's probably what we're most active on. And then in terms of the music, it should be out on all streaming platforms and all online stores and everything. So yeah, that's what I would say is, if you have Instagram, please follow us. That would be great.
Yes.
And
At Sunbathers Band, Instagram. Yes,
exactly.
me too.
Yes.
And
Make sure to go and subscribe to their YouTube channel as well. This band does not have nearly enough subscribers for the amazing content that's on there. And while you're at it, please go and subscribe to the Anything Goes Hokkaido channel as well. And
Yes.
our handles are the same on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, Anything Goes Hokkaido. You can find me at Delaina Music on Instagram and Twitter. I don't do Twitter except through Instagram, so. And Facebook is Delaina Live, and Shinsta_grams on Instagram. Do you do any other social media besides that and Facebook, Shinya?
No. I just
Keeping
thought
it
Twitter
simple
is,
and sweet.
Yeah, Twitter's going to take too much of my time, so
Yeah,
Facebook
I don't
and
get
Instagram
Twitter.
is-
I was
at
trying
all,
to
but-
just one thing to
Yes,
keep
me
me
too.
abreast on Japanese culture. What's like the big Japanese platform, like social media wise these days?
I think Twitter has had a real
Twitter.
boom. Yeah,
Really? Okay. Interesting.
Twitter, Insta, yeah, it's probably
Twitter, Instagram are probably.
One, two.
Facebook, not so much,
No.
maybe.
Yeah.
And I
Quick
think-
falling off over here too, I feel. But
And I don't know, is Mixi still a thing here, or Ame Buro? Bura?
Shiranai, I don't know.
Shiranai. Oh,
No idea.
one last question. We've had a few really interesting vocabulary words that I will highlight as I do the editing, like dosanko and a few things. But do you have any favorite Japanese phrases or things? Just something to introduce our
Japanese
viewers.
phrases.
Hokkaido Ben or otherwise.
I hate that the first thing I thought of, but mendokusai is great.
Yes, we haven't had that
So-
yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, what is mendokusai?
Mendokusai is when something is just, actually, I feel like this ties into like Australian lingo as well, but you'd say like you can't be bothered.
Yeah, but you would say the F word or.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
pain in the ass.
Pain in
Mendokusai.
the ass, can't be
Right.
bothered. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Shoganai, I guess.
Shoganai.
No.
Can't be helped, or
I was teaching a friend itadakimasu the other day, and I think that's like such a great thing to have ingrained into a culture, just like appreciation for the meal before every meal. And it's different from like other phrases you say. And gochiso-san, obviously too. And even like tadaima and okaeri and ittekimasu, itterasshai, like having that just like be, you know, the default that everyone says. It's just really nice, and I kind of miss that here because I don't think, you know, people are as prone to be like, all right, I'm heading out. Sometimes people will just like head out. You don't necessarily greet everyone who comes through your door. It's like, oh, welcome home, you know? And I think that's
I get that.
well.
I think the ingrained greeting or like aisatsu culture in Japan, one of the things I really like about it is that it gives you a kind of connection throughout your day. Whenever you go somewhere, you're saying good morning to people, or, you know, announcing that you're there. You always say goodbye before you eat. Like it's a routine, but it does have like a real connection there with your community. And if you know those phrases, you can move in Japanese society pretty easily, I think. Like if you just know, when I go here at work, I say this, and then I say this, and then people just feel like you belong more. If you I think we're gonna close out soon, but Shinya and maybe Shohsei, if you want to join us for this, how about we do like a little special thing, like a midweek thing, coronavirus, we're stuck at home, for some of these really cool phrases that we were just talking about, where we can explain just maybe a little bit more in depth, because you just rapid fired so many amazing phrases at us there. Not enough time to edit the details for our Japanese language learners, but I would love to work on that project soon.
And it's not just just Hokkaido, it's more like people's experiences, traveling to different places as well. So you can sort of like relate that to not just Japan, about other people's experiences as well. So we're just using Hokkaido as maybe like a base in a way. And then it's sort of like branching out to like different things, to musicians and people doing other jobs and things like that. And
for sure, for
anything
me,
goes.
and that title came to me and I was like, oh, it's got a nice rhyme, it's catchy. Right now we're kind of stuck, not being able to go anywhere, but as soon as we're able to travel freely, I also want to be doing lots of like location things and going out. And if there's a chance to go to Australia, like if Shinya's traveling back there, or like go to the States, and, you know, just any connection to Japan. But I have such an amazing personal network of people that I've met through life and the work with the airport videos. And it's just like, man, people need to know like what amazing community we have here in Hokkaido, and anything. I mean, just I was like, there's so much more to this place and the people that are here. And I want to, my mission for this is that, especially right now, to keep people interested in Hokkaido and in the businesses and the people, and to just support each other. And as soon as people can start traveling, like, bam, I saw that restaurant on the podcast. I'm gonna go there. You know, keep people floating.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think this, and I really appreciate, Shinya, your point about like, it doesn't have to, people don't have to have their own connection to Hokkaido to be able to relate to it, because the themes can be more universal, and I think that's so true.
So thanks to Shinya. Thanks to Shinya's halfness. That's a reoccurring theme for us. And also, up till now, or at least a year ago, I basically never put my kids on social media. I just felt like I wanted to protect them.
I mean,
But,
I was never on social media until I got into high school, really.
Well, I'm not letting my kids have their own accounts, but even on mine, like I don't post their pictures usually. But my older son Cole actually did a job with me for JR Hokkaido where we were on film, and he loved it and did an awesome job. So, but for me as well, like having half kids, that's a really important topic to me. And I was thinking as we were she was like, okay, I'm gonna have to maybe later on down the line actually get maybe my kids on an episode or do something fun like that.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I think that's like really interesting in the sense that I feel like there are perspectives I had as a kid when I was younger about being half that I don't have anymore. So you can get that perspective like in that moment. And I wish I, had a better memory in the sense of being able to go back and like pick out exactly how I felt, exactly what my thoughts were on a certain experience. But now it's more an approximation. And so I think, talk like Cole about like, well, what's your experience? Like, obviously he has his own perspective on it too. So I think that's going to be fascinating.
But I mean, being a half is like you have the negatives and stuff, but there's always positives too. Like, there's a way that you are a bit more popular than the other kids in a way because you're a bit special. And having a American mother and a Japanese father, and then the kids are like really cute and stuff like that, and that's always like a positive thing. So it's not just negatives,
I think the international experience, like most of my kids' classmates have not spent time overseas or are not bilingual, or not that my kids are perfectly bilingual by any means, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
So something else I have kind of a vision for this program is as we get more of a following interaction, like maybe people doing some live shows would be fine too, but even just having people sending in clips. Like I just had this, let's have a open thing for like Hafu kids to send in video of like their experience or something, like maybe 1 or 2 minutes, and compile it. It could be really cool. That way it's not like, that way it's got parent approval if they sent it in. I don't have to worry about like, we put a kid on the spot and, maybe caused issues later. So anything goes with this, and I feel like it's going to be a really nice long-term project. So
that's awesome.
Really happy to be doing it.
I'm excited for it. Yeah.
Me too.
I think like, you could do a show just about being bicultural, or you could do a show just about attending an international school. Like each of these topics you could just dive in and go for hours and hours and just
for sure
keep unpacking things, I think. So there's definitely plenty of content, I think.
No doubt.
And interesting and good content too. That's like not really, and I hate using the word content, but interesting conversation to be had, and questions to be asked and answered that aren't necessarily being, covered widely elsewhere. So I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you. It's been really exciting. I went ahead and pushed record on my computer for this because you were like saying really awesome shit. So
yes, maybe swore on recording.
Yeah, but I can edit it out if I want.
That's funny.
Oh my goodness! Okay, no, this is awesome.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Really hope you'll be back again, and we're excited to see what comes for your band as you guys work on things. Obviously, I mean, I was surprised that you had a brand new release 2 days ago, was it?
Yeah. On Saturday, 2 days ago. So, that's gonna thankfully keep me busy in terms of trying to do some kind of promotion around it. So, that'll be good. Well,
speaking of that, if you get a chance, David Sweetlow, who we are going to upload his interview this Monday, he's had some pretty decent success with promoting his own stuff, and he's got some good techniques, so you might want to hit him up and can collab or something. So,
sounds
awesome.
Good. David, what's it? David Sweetlow?
Sweetlow. Sweet L-O-W.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you can
got
find
it.
him on our Instagram or other things connected.
Got
Well,
it.
I know it's
Instagram
like
handle is anything goes Hokkaido.
yes, anything goes Hokkaido.
Got it.
And I know it's super late where you are, like almost 3 in the morning.
It is, but my sleep schedule has been so all over the place lately that it's, you know,
Yep. I was up till
on
6.
the night. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yay, American taxes are done. Woo!
There you go. It's always a big relief once it's done. So, congrats.
This time, for some reason, the very first step, like when you input your income, was on the wrong category, and it was not working at all.
Oh,
Like-
God.
That's 4 days down the drain. But
Do you do it online or
yeah,
are you?
yeah,
Okay.
I use the Intuit software.
Got it.
And they charged a lot more this year than they did in the past. Like typically it looks like typically it's free, but when you're like living overseas, there's extra stuff that you have to do, and so they charge. It used to be like $60-$70. It was like $120 this time.
Wow.
And then I went ahead and did their like fraud, etc. audit. Like if you get audited,
Oh,
they're gonna
yeah,
support
yeah.
you. So that I think I paid $220 to file
Oh,
my
wow.
taxes, but it was worth
Yeah.
it. So I
Yeah.
think because I think stimulus checks are coming.
Right. Yeah. I was
We're-
just trying to figure that out before this too.
Yeah.
I literally, my latest email in my inbox is from TurboTax. Into
Yes,
TurboTax.
That's what I was
Yeah.
using. Well, good luck to us all with that. And this
Right.
last bit may
Yeah.
or may not get added onto the podcast. It depends.
Yeah.
It might. Like even the openings where we're just like, hey, okay, testing, like they're funny, and I keep them in there
Right.
most of the time. So
Some live charms for sure.
yeah. All right. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us today. It's been awesome. Really
Thank you for
excited
having
we
me.
finally went over an hour on our episode. Thank listeners
Yeah,
for
sorry about
sticking with
that.
us. No, it was amazing, and I hope you will come back again.
Yeah.
And please keep us updated on any new releases from the band and news that we can be looking out for.
For sure.
Okay, everybody. This has been Anything Goes Hokkaido. I'm Delaina.
I'm Shinya. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Thank you.
shitake!
Ciao, goodbye. Sayonara.
So, nice.
Oyasumi.
Once again, a huge thanks to everyone that made this episode of the Anything Goes Hokkaido podcast possible. We'd like to thank Shohsei Oda and the Sunbathers for giving us permission to showcase so much of their music, and also a big thanks to you for listening to this extra long episode. Please remember that we are accepting business sponsors and Patreons at our Patreon account, Anything Goes Hokkaido, and we would love to make promotional materials for you, for your business or local adventure. We can't wait to see you, and shitake!